It has not been this bad for the Philadelphia 76ers in under a decade. We're going to break it all down and see just how bad the Philadelphia 76ers are this season.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? It's Kayla Santiago here, your host for Locked On 76ers, also the sideline reporter and fill-in play-by-play broadcaster for the Delaware Blue Coats, which is the Philadelphia 76ers NBA G League squad. And today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Make sure you download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And of course, you can also find us right here on YouTube, in addition to anywhere you listen to podcasts, but also our free daily newsletter. That's on lockedondaily.com. So make sure you go check that out today. Once again, that's lockedondaily.com. You will not want to miss everything Philadelphia 76ers, or do you? We're going to wait and see here, these topics. You don't want to miss it here from Locked On 76ers, but maybe you want to close your eyes just how bad the Philadelphia 76ers have been so far this year. So we're going to touch on just how bad the numbers really are. Nick Nurse talking about what's going on with the injuries, so on and so forth. And then kind of a look ahead, if you can even look ahead for this team right now. Right now, they are at 15-27. This is the worst record through 42 games since posting the same mark during the 2016-17 season. That was reported by my co-host and Keith Pompey for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And Inquirer, of course, he writes for the Philadelphia 76ers as well. And he did say that squad went to finish off at 28-54. Oh boy, this is starting to get in really depth of really bad 76ers team right now for what we're seeing in this 2024-25 season. So let's take a look at how their schedule has been so far. And we can all kind of vent together, people, because it has been absolutely rough lately for this Philadelphia 76ers team. It seems like forever before they've been able to have a competitive game. In that last contest, they lose 144-109. Now, granted, once again, all the injuries, everything going on with this team. 123-109 loss versus the Bucks. 115-102 against the Pacers, a better effort there. The Knicks, 125-119. They lose to the Thunder. They lose to the Magic. They lose to the Pelicans. The last team that they beat is the Washington Wizards. The Washington Wizards, people. It is getting absolutely insane right now. But this is exactly what we thought, right? And this is why it was so important for the Philadelphia 76ers to play well before the stretch. Because all of us, we alluded to, my co-host Keith Pompey and I said that, when you look at this stretch right now, the 76ers are definitely underdogs going in against even the Pacers, the Thunder especially, the Knicks, the Bucks, the Nuggets. They got the Cavaliers coming up next on Friday at 7 p.m. The 76ers are indeed underdogs in all of those games. So what was important was to win all the contests prior to that. Wizards, they barely got by the Washington Wizards. They definitely didn't get by the Pelicans. They lost 123-115. They are able to get a victory against the Nets. The Suns is a game they had in the palm of their hands, and they completely let it go. You lose to the Kings, you lose to the Warriors. So the 76ers team has been down bad. And then, of course, Joel being sidelined for even longer with that knee swelling too. So it is just not all adding up for the Philadelphia 76ers right now. And I actually took to my Instagram, if you guys want to follow me on there, and asked for you guys to give your questions and see your input and see what you really think this team is going to, the questions, the concerns. And some people wrote in, is the process dead? Is this the end of the process? And I don't think that you can make the end of the process requirement in that decision until Joel Embiid is all said and done, right? Because maybe they sit him out the rest of this year, but maybe he comes back next year and he is even better. Now, I don't really know how realistic that is going to be, but at the same time, the process starts and it ends with Joel Embiid. So if Joel Embiid doesn't get out of the second round and this is it, of course, the process is done. It's over. It did not work. And Adam Silver is probably clapping. He's excited. He's celebrating because, he didn't like the process anyway. So when you look at it for the Philadelphia 76ers, and I appreciate you guys all writing in to my Instagram, to my Twitter, asking me these questions because we love to answer them here on Locked On 76ers and engage with our viewers and our audience. The thing about the process is it truly lives and dies with Joel Embiid. Until Joel Embiid is completely done, till it's saying his body can't take it anymore, he's absolutely done, that's to me when it ends. Now, granted, it does seem like that's happening this season, but I want to go back to the point of when he was playing in the Olympics, right? He played knowing that he was injured, knowing what that could cost him this season coming up. And that's why I said the Philadelphia 76ers should have had the Kawhi treatment. Kawhi, of course, he sat out of the Olympics. Joel Embiid wanted to play for the gold medal. And at the end of the day, I go to 2 points for this. The reality of the situation is that he wanted to play for Team USA. He wanted to get that gold medal. And he thought he was going to be back to play with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. The other side of the coin is, and let me figure things out here, when you talk about this, and people will say, oh, well, that's not true. But if Joel Embiid is all said and done, winning a gold medal plus the MVP, but winning a gold medal for Team USA will be his biggest accomplishment. And if you sit down and you're Joel Embiid and you're having a conversation with your family and everybody involved, is that enough? Is that enough for a player that had all these high expectations in terms of an NBA championship, bringing the first one to the city of Philadelphia, really since 1983, when you look at it right now for the Philadelphia 76ers? To me, that doesn't seem like it would be enough for Joel Embiid, but at the end of the day, if his injuries don't allow him to come back, maybe that could be enough for Joel Embiid. So you risk it, you risk your injuries, and now this season, I'm fully approved with shutting him down. I've been saying this consistently. There was a lot of medical professionals that were saying that Joel Embiid should just completely shut it down to start the season. Now you're looking at it, it is not even worth it to bring him back. Everybody else is injured too. Everybody else is injured too. And this Philadelphia 76ers team, I mean, they still have a hard schedule ahead of them. Right now, they're sitting at 15-27. They are currently 11th in the Eastern Conference. Above them at 10, which is a chance for a play-in spot, is the Chicago Bulls with 19 wins, right? And the Cavs, they're just untouchable, but you still have to compete with the Heat and the Magic, all these teams to be able to try and get into that play-in contention. At this point, I don't even think it's worth it. I don't even think it's worth it. I think you need to tank for Cooper Flag, capture the flag, get the best player coming out of the draft, and go. And have that help you out. Because imagine a team with Cooper Flag, Tyrese Maxey, and Jared McCain. Oh my gosh. And you realize I'm not even putting Paul George in that space, in that roster right there, because PG at this point of his career, he's not in his prime. He's a competitor and he can be a good addition to a team. But you're talking about youth. You're talking about really good playmakers. You're talking about Cooper Flag. You're talking about a guy that can come into the system and be an immediate player and an immediate impact. And that's what the 76ers need, especially from the draft class coming up. So at this point, I think they need a tank. There is no point to even get into the play-in, because at the end of the day, we will see it that the Philadelphia 76ers, if they get into that play-in tournament, they are just going to lose in the first round. So it's really bad right now. I just read you numbers once again that Keith Pompey, my co-host, he also, of course, writes to the Philadelphia Inquirer. That's what he's most known for the Philadelphia 76ers. And when you look at it, it hasn't been this bad since 2016, 2017. So they ended their year 28-54. Could that happen with the Philadelphia 76ers? We're going to have to wait and see. Still a really tough stretch ahead of them, which we will get to in a little bit later in the show. But also, we're going to have to touch on what Nick Nurse said, too, because some pieces of the puzzle are not fitting for Nick Nurse. And he was very open about that as well. And looking ahead to the rest of the season for the Philadelphia 76ers and what they can bring or try to bring to their numbers so far on the year. Don't go anywhere. We'll have that and more right here on Locked On 76ers. Now, I will say, talking about a live game and everything in between makes me really excited for the NFL playoffs coming up. And I know people want to try to get tickets, but you might say they're too expensive. It's not worth it, yada, yada, yada. Well, Game Time, it is worth it. Anytime I go to a game, whether it's basketball, football, NHL, anything like that, soccer, MLB too, I definitely use Game Time. Game Time has all the deals. They have super deals. They have amazing deals. They have the top 1%. It really gives everybody an idea of what you want to go after and just how good that deal is. And the fees are a lot less than any other ticketing market out there. So make sure you go head over to Game Time today. It's everything in between being able to get the tickets that you want for the best price and everything that you could possibly want. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download Game Time app today, make an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA. Once again, that's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is game time. Make sure you go check out Game Time today and use our code as well. Once again, that is Game Time. Make sure you go check it out today. You won't want to miss all the fantastic deals that Game Time has to offer. Verbatim, let's read Nick Nurse's statement. And this is just a portion of what he said and explained. He says, it's been a puzzle when you know that one piece is gone, but it's the other pieces that have been scattered so much. So, the one piece is clearly Joel Embiid, right? Imagine doing a puzzle with your family and one piece is missing out of the box, or it's lost, or it's at the bottom of the box. You're like, why can't I finish this dang puzzle? And why won't it work out? Well, then you see, okay, a piece is missing. And the biggest piece of the puzzle, that is Joel Embiid. But they have scattered so much. That's the rest of the injuries. And we even just look at the Bucks injury report and a lot of the injury reports that the Philadelphia 76ers have had this season. Against the Bucks, Embiid was out, Drummond was out, Lowry, both Martins, that's Caleb and KJ Martin, Paul George, Yabusele as well. And the 76ers cannot get healthy for the life of them. Yes, it is mainly Joel Embiid, but when you have all these other pieces out, how do you even coach a team? Now, Keith and I always go back and forth right here on Locked On 76ers, and he says he doesn't feel bad for Nick Nurse because the money that he's making, and we don't have that in our pockets. But what I will say at the same time is that there is no way from a coaching perspective that you can get consistency, that you can have this team have chemistry when each and every day the injury report is as long as my grocery list. So when my fridge is cleaned out and everything like that, and I need to do a full restock, that's how long the injury report is for the Philadelphia 76ers this year. It's been crazy. Game after game, they cannot get healthy for the life of them. So let me know what you guys think about Nick Nurse saying that quote. He also said a lot of other things within this quote as well, and throughout a lot of the different press conferences and, of course, the post-game media for Nick Nurse. It's just been a really tough season for him in the Philadelphia 76ers. And he's also said, but I think there's always been that part of me that's always thinking big picture. That's always in the back of my mind a little bit. But I think 90% of the time I think about how not going to say that word, are we going to win tomorrow night, right? What are we going to do tomorrow night? Who's going to be available? And how are we going to play and give ourselves a chance to win? How do you give yourself a chance to win if each and every night you have at least 5 players on that injury report? I mean, we already know Jared McCann is out for the year, so he's always going to be on the injury report. But you're talking Paul George and Joel Embiid consistently out, Kayla Martin, KJ Martin. And we touched on KJ Martin earlier in the year and said that he's absolutely untouchable for this Philadelphia 76ers team in terms of trade, right? Because when you look at it, KJ Martin, what you're getting back from him is not better than KJ Martin at a trade or anything like that. Kayla Martin was also a pivotal piece coming into the 76ers team. What has it been right now? And once again, that was a quote from an article that Keith Pompey wrote in Philadelphia Inquirer. So once again, make sure you go check out his page. He does fantastic work for them over there, co-host here on Locked On 76ers as well. But it has just been so tough for this team to get any type of chemistry, to get anything going, because they really just haven't played together. And when you look right now at the Eastern Conference, we alluded to it a little bit, but you look at it even more, you don't really see an opportunity for this team to continue to get chemistry because, yes, the Eastern Conference isn't necessarily competitive as much as the Western Conference is this year when you look at it, because right now in the Western Conference, the Warriors, they're the team that's in 11th place, which is where the 76ers are, but they're at even 500 at 21-21, right? So when you see that, you say, okay, well, the Western Conference is definitely more competitive. It's crazy to think because right now the 76ers would be in the bottom 4 in the Western Conference. Now they have one less loss than the Trailblazers right now. At this point, they played one more game and Portland has. They're 15-28, and the Sixers would be right above them, just above at 15-27. But if they were in the more competitive conference right now, they would be in the bottom 4. Okay. They're only right now sticking at 11th place and still have a chance on the outside looking in because they are in the Eastern Conference, which is not competitive this year. So let me get it to you, people. There is no hope left in this team this season. Okay. The one thing that I'm excited to talk about every time the Sixers play, how are the two-ways doing? How's Yabusele doing? How are all these players doing that we didn't think we're going to have a big impact? What's going to happen at the trade deadline? And we'll probably talk on that later this week as well as we're previewing our other games. But at the same time, how are all these younger players doing that could be the future of this team or be a part of this team or that are getting their opportunity, that are off a two-way contract? That's what you're looking at, and that's what you're excited for now. I didn't think, though, that's what I was going to be excited for looking at this team that had Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey this year. This was supposed to be a squad that had a chance at a title. And you can't tell me that the 76ers didn't know what they were doing when Joel Embiid was allowed to play in the Olympics. The knee swelling was something that it was, if you don't play in the Olympics, maybe you'll be good for the season. If you do, you're going to risk an injury, and it could get worse, and you could be pushed out. And then they kept pushing it because they wanted to win games. They cannot win games without him. I alluded to this earlier, but they were 7-6 with him, 8-21 without him. He's the only reason you can win games this season, which is crazy. I mean, you talk about an MVP, most valuable player. Joel Embiid showing it right now, right? Not that he deserves it this season, but he is a big-time player for the Philadelphia 76ers. But the other issue has been all the other pieces that haven't been able to filter in, because it was already tough enough for them to try to get some chemistry going with Paul George and Tyrese Maxey. But it was even more tough now that all these guys are starting to continue to be out of the lineup. And for the 76ers, it is just not good right now. It is really, really bad. And we're going to see how bad it could get, or if there is some hope for this team. I don't think there is. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. But I do think that it is going to be a rough road and continue to be for 76ers fans and for this team this season. So make sure you stay tuned in to Locked On 76ers. We're going to break down the remaining schedule coming up. All right, so let's break it down really clearly here for the Philadelphia 76ers. So what they have coming up, well, you know, the Cleveland Cavaliers are not a team that's going to be fun to play if you're Philly. That's on Friday at 7 p.m. Right now, the Cavs are the best team by 6.5 games in the Eastern Conference, 36-6 right now. The Sixers can just kiss any chance of winning goodbye. I am going to be curious, though, who plays in that game. And that's what I think I'm looking forward to, in the sense of, I don't think the 76ers are going to be, I know they're not going to be the Cleveland Cavaliers, but what I am looking forward to is seeing who can finally get healthy. Is Andre Drummond going to be in? Because we know Joel Embiid will not be. Is Paul George going to be healthy enough to come in? How about Kyle Lowry? How about Caleb Martin? How about KJ Martin? All these pieces that have been out for also kind of a significant amount of time as well, or have been in and out of the lineup. When are they going to come back to the Philadelphia 76ers? So that's a loss to me for this Philadelphia team. Then the Bulls. Now, this is the game that's really interesting, because to me, the Bulls right now, they are at 19-25 on the season, right? They are right above the 76ers in the Eastern Conference standings. Now, the Bulls, they play a tough game on the road against Golden State. And then on Saturday, they take on the 76ers, but this game is in Chicago. So when I look at this right now, to me, for the 76ers, this is a defining moment and the most defining moment of your season. Let me talk about it, because I know people are going to say, what are you talking about? It's against the Bulls. That doesn't mean anything. If the 76ers go out there and they don't show any effort and they sit every single person, to me, that means they're absolutely 100% positively tanking, even if they don't say it. Sit Joel Embiid out, you were tanking. There is no hope left in the season. There really already isn't already. But if you go into this game with your head down against the Chicago Bulls that are above you, that have 19 wins, and you right now have 15 wins in the standings, we're talking today, right now, around 8 p.m., 9 p.m. on January 22nd. If that's how you were going to treat this team, then you can just completely wave your season goodbye. I think they should talk to Adam Silver, maybe just not play the rest of the year if that was a possibility. But, and I say that because this is a game they can win if they have Paul George, if they have Tyrese Maxey, if the Martins are able to come back, if Andre Drummond is in the lineup. And if they give a full effort, even if they lose, it shows me that they're not ready to tank. Do I think they still should tank? I do. Do I think that they should still sit Joel Embiid out for the rest of the season? Yes, either way, if they win or lose, or if they give a good effort. But if they don't go out there and give an effort and are lazy on both sides of the ball, that shows me that this organization, without saying it to the media, without saying it to everybody, is saying the season's over. Because this is a winnable game. The Chicago game is a winnable game for the Philadelphia 76ers if they can go out there and if they can play well and if they have their pieces. They probably won't have Joel Embiid at that point, but they could have Paul George and other pieces that they haven't had. So that's a game where I think it can be a really defining game of the season of where the 76ers team is going to end up being in this next few weeks and these next few games as well. Then you take on the Lakers. That's at home. Kind of can kiss that one goodbye as well. The Kings, they were a tough matchup before for the Philadelphia 76ers. Then you go back into your really tough part of your schedule. The Nuggets, that's at home in Philadelphia. The Celtics at home in Philadelphia. Then you face the Mavericks, then the Heat, Then the Pistons, which, listen, a lot of people might laugh at the Pistons and say, oh, it's the Pistons. Tobias Harris is laughing at everybody in Philadelphia right now. Tobias Harris is laughing at every single person in Philadelphia right now because his team is 7th in the Eastern Conference. 22-21. They are a game above 500 right now. Once again, we're currently talking without any games going on here today, in addition to that as well. They are above the Philadelphia 76ers. I don't know if that's going to be for long, as the Pistons right now, in this time, they're playing the Hawks at the moment. They're up by 10. Once again, this is around 8 to 9 p.m. We are filming this on January 22nd. But at the same time, you can't look at the Pistons as an easy game because they're not going to be an easy game. And they have something to prove against the Philadelphia 76ers. Then you take on the Bucks on the road and the Raptors at home in Philadelphia. Then it gets a little bit easier for you. You take the Nets on 2 games, but in between that, it's the Celtics. But the rest of the schedule, I mean, there is no easy game because the 76ers, they don't have any easy games because they're just that bad right now. So let me know what you guys think, if this season is salvageable, if you feel like that Chicago Bulls game is a game that could defy their season and everything in between. And, you know, you guys all asked me some questions as well. And once again, I appreciate you guys participating in that. And you said, are the 76ers going to win a game? I think they can win the Bulls game if they actually go out there and play basketball. It's really, they're making it look a lot harder than it is. Now, granted, they are a bad team, and I'm not saying that the effort and the enthusiasm and everything like that is going to bring them where they need to be, because it will not. But there is going to be a very deciding factor if they don't play to their full potential, if they're lazy on both sides of the court, and if you go into that game and you act like that, there's going to be a defining factor of, okay, it is time to tank. It is time to sit Joel Embiid for the rest of the season. I understand against the Nuggets, you're not going to do that. Against the Celtics, against the Bucks, those are really good teams. But against the Bulls, that are a team that's just above you, and I'm not saying the Bulls are a terrible team, but they're just not at the level of those other squads I just mentioned. This is a game that the 76ers can absolutely win. So we're going to have to wait and see as well. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers. This team does have some time to figure it out right now, and we'll see what they will. I don't have hope for the Philadelphia 76ers. I think they should start tanking now. But if you still have hope in this team, if you still think there's more for Joel Embiid, make sure you like and comment. If you disagree with me, if you agree with me, anything in between, I would love to hear your comments, and we can kind of go back and forth and discussing and everything in between, debating a little bit too in the comments as well. Well, thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers. They are back in action again on Friday night at 7 p.m. at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the best team currently in the Eastern Conference. That'll do it for us for now. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Locked On 76ers.